Hello everybody, this is Jim Feist in Las Vegas, and I'm joined again by Hank Goldberg in South Florida. Hank, good morning.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, you swept the board yesterday in bowl games, and I told the people, get on the website, jimfeist.com, and buy Hank's picks. He has been absolutely red hot. He's had one really bad week in pro football the entire season, and I mean, nobody does that. So if you're not on there buying Hank's picks, you're losing out. And I suggest you go on there. The guy is red hot. He knows what the hell he's doing. He's been doing this forever. And Hank, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, there's a lot to talk about. Bowl games, big bowl games coming up this weekend, and then we put the college football season to rest. There's some interesting college basketball today. And also, you know, the NFL season is winding down. You got to be careful this week because, you know, the Rams aren't going to play their regulars for one. You know, Kansas City, while they're not going to play their regulars, they've got a pretty good quarterback who they're going to take a look at against Denver. You know, these teams with suitcases, and you got freezing weather around the country, and a lot of guys aren't going to be interested in going out there and you know, sub-teen weather and putting their health on the line. Giants hired the general manager I told you they were going to hire, and now they're going to have to hire a coach. I don't think Eli Manning wants to come back and play for the Giants next year. I think he wants to go somewhere else and finish his career. I don't think he's interested in tutoring a high draft pick. I think he wants to go somewhere where he thinks he has a chance to win, and I think he could wind up in Jacksonville, but that's an educated guess on my part. But anyway, that's another subject. But you know, you've got I don't like what the league did in putting all the meaningful games in one spot. I know the Baltimore coach was very unhappy. He wants people to come out and watch his team play and have the home field advantage. But it's New Year's Eve, and a lot of people aren't going to show up. You know, weather in the teens on New Year's Eve to watch football. They might have shown up at the 1 o'clock game. Now the games have been moved back. It's a lousy thing for the league to do. Once again, the league doesn't care about their paying customers. And I'll tell you something. This commissioner got a nice new contract, but I don't like it. The things that they do there in that office.
I'll tell you what. I don't often agree with Jerry Jones on some of the things he does or says, but this time I do agree that they should not have rehired Roger Goodell. I know he's made the league money and the owners money, but he is separating the public from the league. I'm not happy with the things that he does either. I agree with you on that, Hank. Well,
yeah, go ahead.
We got 5 bowl games today. You got Texas A&M Wake. That starts in a little while, actually, about 45 minutes from the time we're doing this. We got North Carolina State, Arizona State, Kentucky Northwestern, Utah State, New Mexico State, and USC Ohio State. Of course, that's the one that gets most of the ink because of the 2 big teams, both teams ranked in the top 10, and we're close to getting, possibly, Ohio State especially, getting into the playoffs. So, and then tomorrow we have 4 bowl games, and then Monday it closes out, but not really closes out, but because that's the beginning of the playoff with Georgia, Oklahoma, and Alabama, Clemson, which are, you know, really some really good games with very small lines on those games. Just pick a side, the point spread probably won't matter. So it's about who you like. And then, of course, you mentioned the NFL. There's quite a few teams that are, you know, like Philadelphia is not going to play everybody. So Dallas is favored there. You know, Minnesota, you know, 12, 13 point favorite over Chicago. Minnesota will play, but a lot of it's half interest because these teams are. It's a difficult week from a handicapping perspective unless you feel there's some motivation. Now, one of the things you might look at, when you look at it, different ways of looking at things. You have a team like Indianapolis, who's a 5.5 point favorite over Houston. Why would Indianapolis care about winning? Well, they have been playing hard. Now, I know that the coach and all that stuff, he might be gone. But Houston's banged up. They haven't shown well at all lately. Indianapolis is playing hard. Can they cover 5.5 if they play hard? Possibly they can. Cleveland, they don't lose anything going into this game. If they were to win this game, it wouldn't cost them a thing because they'd be the only team with one win on the season. And Pittsburgh, they really don't have a whole lot to play for. I know that people talk about seeding and first round buys and stuff, but I have never seen that really work with these players. Once they're in, it's kind of like you finish a marathon and you take a deep breath and you say, geez, I don't want to run anymore today. It's kind of, and believe me, I'm an old marathon guy. I ran 11 of them, and when you get done with that marathon, you don't want to pick up your feet and keep going. Well, that's what happens when people cross that finish line and they're in the playoffs. They know where their seeding is, and the motivation is very difficult. So you go across the board. Each game has an issue. Cincinnati, right? They don't have anything to play for but pride, but they didn't have anything to play for last week either, and they knocked Detroit off. Baltimore needs to win, but do they need to win by more than 10.5 points? So these are the kind of things that you really need to dig into. So what Hank said in the beginning was absolutely right. You have to be really careful. This is not a time when you want to go out there and just spread your money all over the board. If you find some real interesting angles to play, then take a shot. Go for it, especially if you're really confident about something, or if you're in an area you know something about a team's interest. Look at the line move, or actually I should say adjustment, with the Rams. The Rams aren't playing anybody. And San Francisco's on a 4-game winning streak, and they're looking to make a statement. Here's a game for you. But when this game came out, the Rams were 6. I bet San Francisco +6. I bet them +5, and I bet them +4. Now, you'd be laying 3.5 or 3 right now. So it's that's open. That's gone. The value is gone. Can they still win by that? Yes. Can they still win by 10? Yes. So a lot of this has to do with who's playing, who cares, who wants to win, what's the need. I mean, Seattle, 9.5, 10-point favorite over Arizona. We all know that Seattle is something to play for, but are they good enough? They really don't look good. Their offensive line's terrible, the running back's terrible, the wide receivers are marginal. Russell Wilson's been getting banged up all season long. Last week they hardly had any offensive power whatsoever. They beat Dallas, but Dallas really gave it up. I mean, they just didn't play well at all. Arizona might be playing this one for the coach because it looks like Bruce Arians just might leave. A lot to cover there, Hank. What you said up front was 100% right. Be careful. This is a tough week.
Well, I think San Francisco is out to win, and the Rams don't care. I don't think the Rams have their situation is settled for the postseason, and some people are touting the backup running back for the Rams, but he's not going to take any chances with any of his regulars. In San Francisco, right now they've got a quarterback who's they're already touting him as the next Joe Montana, and so far he's 6-0 as a starter. He's playing very well, and the 49ers have a good running back. The only thing is that their defense isn't very good, but the Rams aren't playing their regulars, so that's why that number is moved the way it has. I'll tell you a team that is going with a backup, and I know that Andy Reid doesn't really care, but their quarterback of the future, who's very good, and they're crazy about, is going to play against Denver. And Denver's quarterback stinks. And I don't care how far down in the lineup Kansas City goes. Their quarterback and their team is quick for sure. And I don't know what the weather's going to be in Denver, but I can tell you that Joseph is a terrible coach. They really got that thing screwed up, and the Kansas City. It's going to be interesting to watch the Kansas City quarterback play in that game. As far as Arizona is concerned, Seattle came back last week and played strong. They have a lot to play for, Seattle, because they've got, two of their top defenders back. And Arizona, they played a pretty decent game last week, but with their new quarterback. But Seattle is motivated because there's a good chance that they can get in if Arizona loses, and there's a good chance, or the Atlanta loses, and there's a good chance Atlanta is going to lose this week. Atlanta is not playing well, and that's a game that has meaning to both teams. And more so for Atlanta than Carolina. Carolina's position is pretty well settled, but I think Carolina is playing very well right now. And I'll tell you something about Atlanta. They are not playing very well right now. Their run defense isn't good, and their offense is not playing very well. Their quarterback has got issues. They've got two excellent running backs, but Carolina's defense is good against the run. And right now, Carolina is playing about as well as anybody. And they're not going to lay down for Atlanta, I can tell you that. That's a good game that actually has some interest. But, you've got Buffalo coming to Miami. Buffalo has an outside chance. The Chargers need a win against Oakland. Oakland is going to shake up their entire coaching staff, maybe at the top. The Chargers need to win because I think the Chargers have a decent chance of making the playoffs. And I'm not sure if they have a home field advantage in this game. There might be more Oakland fans attending that game than Charger fans. That move has not worked out so well for them. But the Chargers have plenty of incentive. They played a lousy game last week in New York. They escaped with a win, so they're still alive. And, you pretty much touched a lot of bases there. Pittsburgh is not playing any of their regulars against Cleveland. On the other hand, I don't think they want to be the only team to lose to Cleveland. So their backups will be, will be playing like it counts. By the way, one thing, alert with the Chargers is their top running back has an ankle problem. He says he's going to play, but they're not sure until game time if he doesn't go. If he doesn't go, he's a key cog in that offense if he can't play.
Well, Hank, you covered a lot. We both did. From what, just listening to you talking, I think the Chargers are really in good shape to win this game. I know their home field advantage is questionable. They don't get that many fans. And most of the time, the other team gets more fans there than they do. San Francisco, if I were to just look at this card and say, okay, no point spreads on any game, I think San Francisco is going to win the game. The Chargers are going to win the game. Baltimore is going to win their game. You just have to decide whether or not they can get by these point spreads that are on some of these games. Atlanta and Carolina, you bring that one up, and I know Atlanta really needs the game. Carolina doesn't, but Carolina's a little banged up. They got some people hurt, and they're very well may end up in that game, and if they may get to the point in that game the coach says, well, I don't want to get anybody else hurt, especially if they get an injury or they get down too far. It's kind of a dangerous spot because, and this is where I'm going to point out in-game betting. If you have in-game betting, you might look at some of these games and see what's going on. You may see some reserves come in, and that you really might make really good hay if you're using in-game betting this week. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of angles to winning bets and winning money. It doesn't always have to be, guessing at what's going to happen going in front. But if you got in-game betting, you can make up for a lot of ground on some of this stuff. Now, why does New England want to beat the Jets by more than a touchdown or 10 points? I mean, laying in this kind of weather, I mean, the weather in the East Coast, you brought it out. Why would they want to beat that team by 17 or more points? They may not score 17 points in this weather, and they know where they're at. So what's the big deal? Win the game by 10, back up the backdoor cover. So look at things that way. And there's money to be made, but the bowl games, we've got a couple days left of the bowl games. College basketball. There's nothing better than conference college basketball. And we opened that up the other day. And Hank, you and I are going to kill it in college basketball for the next couple of months. I want the people to get on board. Go to jimfleiss.com. Check out Hank's plays, my plays, and get involved because we do win at this stuff. So jimfleiss.com, Hank's plays and my plays, and everybody out there, Happy New Year, healthy, Happy New Year. I hope your families are all good and happy, and I hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve and a New Year's Day. And most importantly, I hope 2018 for everybody turns out to be a good year and a healthy year, and we're all back here next year talking about sports again. So Hank, thank you very much. SoCal and Parlay, football and basketball. SoCal's basketball team is pretty good. Yeah, and I'm going to disagree with you on Carolina. I think they're in pretty good shape. They're getting there. The guy who had to sit out last week rejoins them, and I think their defense is going to dominate in that game today, or this weekend. And by the way, we didn't say anything about Tennessee and Jacksonville, and I don't think Jacksonville wants to lose to Tennessee and take a chance that they have to play them again the first week of the playoffs. That'd be interesting. Well, going to that game, and you mentioned the man Eli Manning earlier, and Tom Coughlin is there in Jacksonville. We know Jacksonville's in the playoffs, so we know that. And Tennessee opened a 5-point favorite. They're down to 3 now. That's because Jacksonville's going to play their players. And they've got a young team. The coach wants to keep their momentum going. They didn't play all that well last week, so they want to play well here. Tennessee hasn't played well in a while. So if Tennessee wins this game, yes, Jacksonville may not want to play them again, but it's more meaningful to Tennessee. However, if Jacksonville, they're going to get into the playoffs. If they're one and done in the playoffs and Bortles looks terrible because he has the ability to look terrible at times, you may see a move to get Eli Manning down to Jacksonville to be their quarterback next year because they have a solid running game, a solid defense, and they need a quality, more consistent quarterback. Bortles has showed at times to be good, but other times he's the ugly stepchild on the field. So you're right, Hank. That's exactly, Jacksonville doesn't want to lose to Tennessee for sure. I know that.
You'll see Eli moving on. Remember I said that.
Say that again?
You're going to see Eli moving on.
That's good. And you think it might be Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance of that happening.
Okay. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, Hank. Thank you, everybody.
Happy New Year to you and yours.
Thank you.